There is a sound your car is making right now that a shop will turn into a $240 repair order before you finish explaining it. It starts as a chirp, high-pitched, comes at startup in cold weather and sometimes disappears after 30 seconds. Then one morning it doesn't disappear. It screams at every stoplight. It screams when you turn the wheel. And the shop, they pull the hood, listen for about 4 seconds, and write down 2 words: Serpentine belt. The belt they want to sell you is not worn out. It is not cracked. It does not have chunks missing. It is doing exactly what a belt at 60,000 miles is supposed to do. But you don't know that, and they are counting on you not knowing that. What is actually happening inside that sound, what is causing it, and why a $2 fix has been solving it since before most belt drive systems existed. That is what this video is about. Do not replace anything until you watch this. Rehook 1. The mechanism. Let's talk about what a serpentine belt actually is, not what it looks like, but what it's doing every second your engine runs. That single belt is simultaneously spinning your alternator, your power steering pump, your AC compressor, your water pump, and sometimes your power brake booster. It is one continuous loop under constant tension, looping around a series of pulleys, and the tension is maintained by a single spring-loaded idler, the tensioner pulley. Here is the physics the shop doesn't explain. A serpentine belt grips its pulleys through friction. Not through teeth, not through a mechanical lock, through friction. The rubber compound on the ribbed underside of the belt is pressed into the grooves of each pulley. As long as the contact surface between rubber and aluminum is dry and clean, friction holds, the belt doesn't slip, and everything spins exactly as it should. The moment that friction drops, even fractionally, the belt doesn't grip. It skids microscopically over the pulley grooves, and a rubber compound vibrating at 1,500–3,000 RPM against a machined aluminum pulley makes exactly one sound, a high-frequency squeal. So the question isn't, what is wrong with my belt? The question is, why did the friction drop? There are 5 answers. 4 of them do not require a new belt. 1 of them does. I'll give you all 5 in order. And by the end, you will know exactly which one you're dealing with before you touch anything. Authority Bridge. Ray Dunmore. Before I give you the diagnostic, I want to tell you about a man named Ray Dunmore. Ray spent 34 years as a fleet mechanic for a regional trucking company in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Not a dealership tech. Not a shop that writes repair orders by the hour. A fleet mechanic, which means his job was not to sell repairs. His job was to keep 40 trucks running for the lowest possible cost per mile. Because every hour a truck sat, the company lost money. And the company was watching. When I talked to Ray, he was 71. He had a coffee can on his workbench with a homemade label on it that said belt juice. He called it that because the name amused him. He'd been mixing the same compound since 1986 when another fleet mechanic named George Hartfield showed it to him during a breakdown on I-81 at 2 a.m. George had learned it from a Caterpillar service representative in the 1970s who used it on heavy equipment belts. The lineage goes back further than that, but I'll get to that. Ray told me that in 34 years, operating a fleet that ran an average of 2.1 million belt-driven miles per year, he replaced a squealing belt for friction-related noise exactly twice. Both times, he told me, he shouldn't have. He replaced them because a supervisor was watching, and he didn't want to explain himself. Every other time, he used the compound. I'm going to give you Ray's exact recipe. But first, the diagnostic. Because the fix only works on 4 of the 5 causes. You need to know which one you have. The 5-cause diagnostic cause. Number 1, moisture. This is the most common cause of belt squeal, and the one shops exploit the most aggressively. Cold morning. High humidity. Dew on the engine bay. The rubber absorbs a thin film of surface moisture. Moisture reduces the coefficient of friction between rubber and aluminum pulley. The belt chirps. The belt screams on startup. The belt goes quiet in 5 to 10 minutes as the engine warms and the moisture evaporates. If your squeal starts cold and stops when the engine warms up, this is almost certainly your cause. And here is the thing about moisture squeal. It is not a warning that your belt is failing. It is literally just wet. Cause number 2, contamination oil drip from a leaking valve cover gasket. Power steering fluid leaking off the pump. Coolant mist from a small radiator hose weep. Any of these hitting the belt creates a thin contamination layer that eliminates friction. This squeal is different. It's often louder, more consistent, and doesn't fully go away with warmth. If you have cause number 2, you need to fix the leak first. The belt treatment will help temporarily, but it will not hold if oil is actively dripping onto the belt every time you drive. Fix the leak. Then treat the belt. I'll show you how. Cause number 3. Glazing. This is what happens to a belt that has been slipping for a long time without anyone addressing it. The rubber compound on the ribbed side hardens and polishes smooth from repeated micro-slippage. A glazed belt feels almost plastic to the touch on the ribbed face. It has lost the coefficient of friction permanently, not because of moisture, not because of oil, but because the rubber compound itself has changed state. Glazed belts can sometimes be restored. Ray had a method for it. But you need to identify it correctly first. Run your finger along the ribbed face. If it feels slick and hard, like a polished surface rather than soft rubber, that's glaze. Cause number 4, tensioner. Where the spring-loaded tensioner pulley that keeps constant pressure on the belt has a bearing inside it and a spring mechanism that degrades over time. When the tensioner loses spring tension, the belt runs loose. A loose belt slips. A slipping belt squeals. And no belt treatment in the world fixes a worn tensioner. That is mechanical, not chemical. How to test it? With the engine off, push on the belt between 2 pulleys. There should be very little give, less than half an inch under firm pressure. If it moves freely, your tensioner may be weak. You can also watch the tensioner arm while the engine runs. A healthy tensioner arm barely moves. A worn one oscillates visibly because the spring is too weak to dampen belt vibration. New tensioner, $25 to $45 at any parts store. This one you do actually replace. Cause number 5, genuine belt wear. Real belt failure looks like this. Cracks running perpendicular across the ribs, chunks of rubber missing, fraying at the edges, ribs worn flat, a belt at 90,000 to 100,000 miles. In this condition, genuinely needs replacement. The material has broken down. No treatment reverses that. Check your belt with a flashlight. Flip the ribbed side toward you. You may need to rotate the belt by hand with the engine off to inspect the full loop. If you see none of those failure signs, your belt is not the problem. Retention plus subscribe block. If you are still here, you now know something that most people walking into a shop this week do not know. You know that belt squeal has 5 causes, and only one of them requires a new belt. The shop does not want you to know that. The parts counter does not want you to know that. Ray Dunmore spent 34 years knowing it and passing it to one person at a time in parking lots at 2 a.m. Hit subscribe. Because what I am about to show you, the compound, the exact application, the chemistry behind why it works, is the part most people never get to. Stay here. The compound. What it is and why it works. Ray's compound. 2 ingredients. Both available at any hardware store or farm supply. Combined cost, under $2. Beeswax and petroleum jelly. 1 part petroleum jelly to 3 parts beeswax by volume. You melt the beeswax in a small container. A mason jar set in a pot of hot water works perfectly. Stir in the petroleum jelly until fully blended and pour it into a flat container to set. You end up with a waxy solid that looks and feels like a soft candle. Here is the chemistry, because this is not folk wisdom and I am not asking you to take it on faith. Beeswax is primarily a blend of long-chain esters and alkanes. At room temperature, it is a solid. At belt temperature, a serpentine belt running at load can reach roughly 140 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit on the ribbed face. Beeswax transitions to a very thin, low-viscosity film. It doesn't melt off. It doesn't fling. At the molecular level, the long-chain esters in beeswax bond weakly to both rubber compound and machined aluminum, just enough adhesion to fill the microscopic surface irregularities that moisture and contamination have disrupted, restoring the friction coefficient without adding lubricant. This is a crucial distinction. You are not lubricating the belt. You are restoring surface contact. The petroleum jelly, a mixture of mineral oil and microcrystalline wax, serves two purposes. It lowers the melting point of the beeswax, so the compound begins transitioning at lower belt temperatures exactly when you need it, cold mornings and startup. And it creates a slightly tacky surface that helps the compound adhere to the belt during initial application rather than flinging off immediately. This combination has been used on leather drive belts, fabric belts, and rubber V-belts since before modern serpentine belt designs existed. Before that, it was used on farm equipment, power takeoff belts going back to the 1930s. The compound is not new. The application to a modern serpentine belt is exactly the same as it was on a thresher belt in 1941. That is not coincidence. The physics of rubber friction have not changed. Exact application procedure. Step 1. Engine off. Belt cold, or as cool as you can get it. Do not apply this to a hot belt. The compound will transfer unevenly at high temperature during application. Step 2. Wipe the ribbed face of the belt with a dry cloth. You are not cleaning it aggressively. You are removing loose surface dirt so the compound makes contact with the rubber, not with grit sitting on top of the rubber. Step 3. Hold the flat edge of your solidified compound against the ribbed face of the belt. Rotate the belt by hand while guiding the compound along the ribbed face. You are depositing a thin, even film. Not thick. Not saturated. A thin film. If you can see white or yellow residue sitting on the belt after application, you have used too much. Wipe it back. Thin film. Step 4. Do not apply to the flat backside of the belt. Do not apply to the pulley grooves. Only the ribbed contact face of the belt itself. Step 5. Start the engine. The belt will squeal for the first 30 to 60 seconds as the compound heats, transitions, and distributes itself across the full belt loop. This is normal. Do not panic. At normal operating temperature, the compound reaches its working state and the squeal stops. If it does not stop within 2 minutes, shut the engine off and recheck your diagnostic. You may have cause number 4 or cause number 5, mechanical problems that the compound cannot address. Reapplication interval. Ray did this every oil change on his fleet vehicles as preventive maintenance. For your personal vehicle, once every 10,000 to 15,000 miles, or any time you notice moisture-related startup chirp returning. Takes 4 minutes. One batch of compound, a single mason jar, will last you years. Honest caveats. I want to be direct about what this does not fix. If your belt is genuinely worn, cracked across the ribs, chunks missing, ribs worn flat, this compound will not restore it. Worn belts fail. They fail suddenly. A serpentine belt failure at highway speed can eliminate power steering assistance immediately, and on vehicles where the belt drives the water pump, can quickly lead to engine overheating. Inspect the belt first. Every time. The compound is not a shortcut around a physical inspection. If your squeal is coming from a seized idler pulley or a bearing in one of the driven components, AC compressor, power steering pump, alternator, the compound will not fix a locked bearing. A seized pulley has a different sound. Lower pitch. More of a grinding rattle beneath the squeal. If you hear that, the compound is not your answer. And if you have an active oil leak contaminating the belt, Fix the leak first. I cannot say that strongly enough. This is a restoration method for friction loss caused by moisture, minor surface contamination, or early glazing. That covers, in Ray's experience and mine, the majority of belt squeal complaints. But not all of them. Know which category you're in. Empowerment. Close. Here is what just happened. You walked in knowing your car was making a noise and a shop wanted $240 to make it stop. You are leaving knowing the physics of why that noise exists. 5 distinct causes with different solutions. How to distinguish them from each other with your hands and a flashlight. And a compound made from 2 ingredients that costs under $2 and takes 4 minutes to apply. The shop isn't stupid. They know what moisture squeal is. They know what belt glazing is. They know what a worn tensioner looks like. They also know that you almost certainly don't, and that a customer who doesn't know the difference between a wet belt and a worn belt may agree to replace a belt that wasn't the root cause of the noise. You are now a customer who knows the difference. That knowledge is worth more than the $2 compound. That is what changes the conversation the next time someone recommends replacing a belt. George Hartfield figured this out on a highway shoulder at 2 a.m. decades ago. He passed it to Ray Dunmore. Ray passed it to his fleet and carried it for 34 years. I am passing it to you now. Pass it on to someone who needs it. Community CTA. Drop this in the comments right now. Your vehicle's make, model, mileage, and what a shop has quoted you to fix belt noise. 1 number. Whatever they told you. I want to build a reference in these comments so the next person who types squealing belt into a search bar finds a thread full of real numbers and real fixes instead of just a parts recommendation. Subscribe. The next video in this series covers a small component inside your alternator that can sometimes be serviced separately instead of replacing the entire alternator depending on the design. I'll show you how to identify it, test it, and decide whether it can be replaced on your vehicle. That one is already in the vault. Don't miss it.